Oh, how exciting is life, I thought. As a young boy, I was all up for adventure, and new, and excitement, you know. I grabbed my sword, or what I thought was a sword. I mean, it was a stick, but it was a sword to me. And I took on all the challenges that make-believe imagination of a young boy could possibly have. In fact, my father sometimes had a few words to say to me about the fact that I was always out battling all these imaginary things, and he really thought that I ought to be attending to work instead. Oh, and I agreed, and so I worked for a while. But pretty soon my imagination would be there, and I would be all flying. It wouldn't be just a haystack. It would be that I was mounting a great mountain. I would come to the top of it. Of course, I would fall and tumble and fall again. But nevertheless, I had this spirit of adventure within me. Now, deep in my heart, always from the beginning, even as a young boy, I wanted to be something great and glorious and grand. You know, I couldn't just be like my dad. I couldn't just be a farmer, you know. That was a struggle. That was hard. I was going to do victorious and wonderful things. There was a slight slump in the economy in the early 1920s, the very first part of that decade, wherewith there were a few problems. But we moved through, went on, and things began to turn. And oh, how they did turn. We went into a time, well, by the time 1920 hit, I was 20. And I was ready to take on all this adventure. I left the life that I had known behind, and I was going to do it all. Everything. I was going to be rich and famous and victorious, and grand should be my life. And I dreamed big dreams, and then I would dream up even bigger dreams beyond that. Now, I'm going to tell a little bit about what I did, a little bit about the time during those 20s, when we know them now. Well, you may call them the Roaring Twenties. We felt that was the way it was, too. Everybody was going to be successful, you know. There was going to be no poverty in our land. This was the great America, and we were going to do everything. I lived in the big city, and I was just thrilled with all the opportunities. I'd come away from where I was, and I was going to take on this and become everything grand and glorious. So many things took place. New inventions came to pass. We had electricity. We had new powers. There were things that would become very wonderful at that time, and I moved in with the gusto that everybody should have, or at least everybody did, that I knew. We were all talking about it. In fact, one dared not say that things were bad because, you know, it's just even if they were having a few moments where things were not going well, we knew the opportunity was there. We were going to seize the day, so we would all talk big. You know, no one would dare say anything other than we were going to do great and glorious, and I was all part of it, and determined that I was going to again be rich and famous. And so, in my enthusiasm, I went every direction you could possibly get. Now, of course, I didn't have money to take all the inventions. By the way, I had several in my mind. I was going to invent this and this and this. Now, I didn't have the money to back it, and I really didn't know how to create my invention. I just had the idea, and, of course, I thought that then we had to hire somebody, or else I had to figure it out. And certainly I would figure it out, and then I'd be able to have this wonderful thing, and it would make millions. And then, of course, I went to another idea, and, of course, I had to work, so I would work, and I worked at everything I could. I mean, I jumped from this job to that job. I worked day and night, and every time in between, and I did what I could, and there was nothing that could come to discourage me. I just took it on. But I went in every direction I could. I also jumped into my brother's business. I mean, whatever he wanted to do, I was going to do it with him. I supported him all the way. Yes, we're going to do this too, and I worked long hours. I woke up early, I went to bed late, and sometimes I didn't go to bed at all. I went forward with that enthusiasm, and I went, and I went, and I went, and I did this, and I did that. And every time I'd get something started, I'd see something else that was even better, and I'd drop the first thing, although I'm sure I was going to come back to it when things got better and I had a little bit more time, and then I'd chase on the new idea. I helped with everything I could. My jobs varied, but my visions and my dreams were grand and glorious, and also varied. I just wanted to do it all. I worked in business. I worked in that of the electrical ward. I repaired. I fixed. You name it, I did it. I was a salesperson. I talked fast. I could do everything I could possibly think to do. And then I did some more. That's just the way I lived my life. Now, some of you may say this does not relate to you. Well, what I'm here to talk about tonight does, in different ways. You may not have had the outward surface look. You might not, in your life, have gone as many directions as I have gone. You may have been stable. In fact, you may have gotten into a job and just stayed with it forever and ever and ever. You may not have had confidence and were sure that you were going to take on, victoriously, the whole world and make millions in the process. Perhaps you grew up the other way, where you felt that you never would, or perhaps some of you started out. You're going to have some big title, and then it didn't turn out. Even though you had your education and a great degree, it didn't turn out the way you thought that it would. There's a lot of stigma in this world about what is great and glorious, and who can get claim and fame by this or that. But just the same, there's no disdain in any work. But there is that feeling in this country, that certain things have more value, and therefore people have more value than others. I know now what I came to share with you. It is a great lesson that took me a long time to learn. I'll talk to you about what I know caused the Great Depression to come in the 30s, which I was part of it. I didn't live a long life. I died, actually, relatively early, but I had enough to go through those roaring 20s and into the Depression of the 30s. And I learned, and I see so many of the qualities going on right now in the world that I know contributed to that of the rise. It was really puffed up ego and falseness, and the fall that came because our grand and glorious world that we had built was not built on solid foundation. It was built out of all of our egos and our desire for more and more and more. At the beginning, prices dropped. I won't go into all the economics of it. It doesn't really matter. But at the beginning of the 20s, they dropped. As a result, people could buy more. Jobs became then more open. The economy began to increase, and things moved. But then it wasn't that people were paid enough, so they began to go into debt. They wanted more and more and more. And that became more of a problem. What I see is part of, again, a key point that I want to bring forward to you. Again, not that I'm here just to talk about economics, but I do see what's behind the economics lies in the fog, and I see it coming again. It will be in a different disguise, as if a different cloak put on, so that it's not as well recognized. Those who think that they have power and influence over the economics will say, well, we will not have that kind of a depression again because we are wiser now. We see what caused it. No, they do not, because they look to economics and that of the banking systems and many other things wherewith they come and think that they have control. But again, I say, they do not. I see the deeper things within, and I've come to share that with you. It will go through time when the economy will fall. Not as soon as perhaps you think, though for some it will be later, and some will be earlier than what you think. But that doesn't matter. I'm here to talk about you and your personal self and who you are. I'm here to talk about what drives you, or what doesn't drive you, or keeps you back and restrains you. I learned and know now that underneath all my drive was this desperate need to feel that I had worth and I was important. My parents were good to me. I cannot complain. My father was about work, and he didn't pay much attention to this little boy when I was little. And so, because work was more important, and I really didn't want to do the work he did, I wanted to become something great and wonderful, that he would notice me, and that I would even feel that I was of worth. So all of my efforts were built on that, of not feeling my worth and trying to prove it by the many things that I did. We do not create our eternal worth out of all the things that we do. I come to tell you again how vital it is for you to understand. We must start with that inner knowing, and out of the greatness of our being, which is there for everyone, will rise up the work that we are to do, and our work will be based upon that, of our internal worth, and the qualities and strengths that everyone has. There's a place for everyone in this world, a comfortable place, but I will tell you that this world will come to do everything to push down any individual, whether they have great education and a high degree, because there are even those with great degrees who will fall and not make it, because they have placed all their value just upon that of the education and that of the values that others place upon them. This is not what will hold on. It's as if it's a false foundation. Again, your worth is not out of your works, but as has been said, it is your worth that comes out of that of your eternal true nature, and the work that you do comes out of your worth, for your eternal, beautiful being that you are. Again, everyone has a place to be, and to contribute to the best of their ability. Some may say, I cannot because of this problem and that. I would tell you, with rare exceptions, everybody has a place to contribute, and what they contribute has value. There are some individuals who do not feel that they have the value, and they may do what in this world is considered a lowly occupation, something that is of lesser value. But just the same, someone who knows their worth and has that internal knowing within them, they will gather the greatest in return for the works that they do, regardless of what the occupation is, and they can grow and develop so that they can move forward to be able to gather more funds from the world, when it comes from the inner confidence that only God can give. There is a veiling over you, every one of you. There is a not knowing of who you are. You build a personality, an ego, if you will, a structure upon that of the not knowing, because you are veiled from the fullness of your beautiful being, the holiness of your greatness that you are eternally. And we come into this world, and not knowing who we are, veiled from such, and we're trying to create something of who we are, as if we start with nothing and have to prove it to the world. You will never really prove it to the world, and then prove it to yourself, trying to go in that order. It absolutely must be the other way around. You must have God reveal it to you, feel it from within, and then be guided step by step on how you are to interface with this world. Give forth your services and know the course to follow, and to do so in a pure state of humility, and an inner godly confidence of your divinity and your power to give something of worth to this world. Again, God knows a place for everyone, to be, to give, to belong, and it needs to be a match to who you are. Very often you may be in a position, a job, an occupation, an activity, some endeavor, a business, whatever it might be, and it really isn't a match for the uniqueness of you. Not only not a uniqueness of your spirit, but neither that of your outward personality that is developed in this life, in your many efforts to come, to do something, to learn, to grow, to be someone. I tell you again, it is all backwards from the way it is. Now, I'm going to weave this thought into that of the hip economics and the conditions going on. I'm going to talk about what caused, in my mind, and from my understanding even now, that Great Depression that came. We all had built up a false foundation, not solid nor sure, like unto the Scriptures that say, a sandy foundation. You must build upon something that is solid and sure. We built on the sandy foundation, and it fell because of pride and because of fear. Two things. There is rampant pride and fear abundant in the world today. That is what will cause the great fall. When we do not come to worship our God, know who we are, walk in our godly confidence and our true natures, which will then replace that of both the fear and the falseness of identity, that of the pride and the ego. When we come from that place, we will then move forward, be honoring of each other, and our economy will be respectful in the exchanges we make. We did not have honorable exchanges in that of the time during those roaring 20s. We did not honor the worker thoroughly. At the same time, we offered products as cheap as we could. Why was it that it was cheap? Partly because we did not pay the worker so well. At the same time, because the prices were cheap, and because there were so many things to choose from, similar to today, then the great possibility to come into debt, to borrow money, became very strong. You cannot borrow these things. That is not the economy of the heavens. I strongly encourage you all to come in mighty prayer that you may have revealed to you that inner knowing, not that it is necessarily in detail to who you are, but an inner feeling that is strong and sure and in a godly and goodly confidence. You are to feel that. I would tell you. You might need to pray very much, mightily, in order for you to have a false feeling of security taken away, so that the true may be in its place. If you walk with a confidence because of the things you have done in this world, and not because it has been opened up and revealed through the veil and by our God, then that confidence will not hold you and sustain you in days to come, when the world goes through trials and difficulties, and economies throughout the entire world collapse. It must be within you that you feel and know from the identity of who you are. Then you walk through all trials with that of knowing that there's a way through, and that the circumstances do not beat you down or cause you to go into greater fear. You must prepare now for the day to remove the fears that are in you at this point, for days later, when you are called to have no fear and to walk in godly confidence, and know that your Father in heaven and our great Lord will be with you. I was raised Christian, and I did not pay much mind to it. Oh, I did some, and once in a while I would bow my head before I ate, because I was taught to do so. But I would offer a few memorized words before I ate. Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes I would offer a prayer just directly to heaven above and thank God for the blessings He'd given me, because I made a little money and was sure that that next business adventure would certainly bring me to the great success I thought I had to have. I would tell you, dear ones, look carefully. Look to see if you walk on a true godly confidence, or see if you walk in that false insecurity, and pray that that might be removed from you, and that the truth of your holiness may be revealed. Again, it is not that it is revealed in words. It is not necessarily that all of a sudden you have a brighter mind, that you are more skilled, talented in ability, and that you get this amazing job that you cannot believe could possibly come your way. It comes from a quiet inner strength within you, and more than likely it will be that the faults will melt away, fade away, little by little, until it is that the replacement comes forth and gives you that quiet knowing. It is to grow. At the same time, if you will pray for such now, it will begin to become sure and strong in you. Then you'll be more sure about where you are to serve, and what you're to do, and where you're to go. When times and trials do come, it will not change your inner confidence in self. because the confidence doesn't come because of the outward success, the job, the business, the money, or anything outward that you might see. You will know who you are, and you will feel your connection to God. This is what I give you to do and to know. To know who you are, revealed by God, and to feel that divine connection to the infinite that our Father in heaven is. I tell you this because when the Great Depression did come, I fell like most people did. I stood at first with that of platitudes and these phrases that we would all say to each other, saying, "We are great and wonderful, we will succeed, and this is a beautiful place to be, and there's nothing but success before us." But we did not turn so fully to God, and again, we built upon a false foundation of who we were and what we could do. We did not honor, really, any value that all men should receive for that of their labors and their goodness, and that there's a place for everyone. There is a beautiful way of knowing, but you cannot know how we can come to have an economy where things are in value, the value of that of the merchandise, the value of the man behind it, not inflated nor exaggerated, but instead truly able to take care of the economy. But that cannot come, save it be that each man feels his own worth, rather than that of being suppressed by or exalting yourself above another. I've come to give you that these two ways will always cause, then, ultimately, one way or another, a fall. If it is not a fall in the whole economy that you experience, it will be a fall in your own personal life, one way or another. It is only becoming as a humble man, and even that you pray for, that the spirit of humility might be with you, that you might ask to know, by revealing from God, that inner knowing of your divinity, your power and ability, and your connection to God, that through Christ all things are possible. I went through that at the time where then I was compelled to be humble, as it is said, which is not the better way. I would invite you to come to know the spirit of humility, a gift from God, opening up your true nature, that it may come to you before the days when things will be of a greater challenge. It's learning to walk in this time where there is still an abundance outwards, though I would tell you it is not built upon solid principles. Many exalt themselves, and others are suppressed and taken advantage of. It is not just in the country, but is throughout the whole world. There is much suppression of the individual and not of value of the person behind that, or the product. We exalt the products greater than the individuals themselves, and then we try to gather our value by all the products that we have and what we own, and how many of the great advantages, as we call them, that there are in this world. I would tell you, that is always to lead, a road to lead to that of destruction. I come to give this to you so that you, as men, with an awareness and a connection to God, for which I so say, blessed are you, yea, that you might turn more before the days of depression come, a world depression and oppression that will be extreme. I say, build up now, not to turn to panic and be able to gather your monies and your resources. That cannot be your confidence either. Your confidence must be in your God who is with you, and in that of your own knowing of who you are, that to be a son of God. And then the uniqueness that you are, even the uniqueness of your beautiful spirit being, that you may see that part of you shine through, and know an inner strength that is not yet so fully expressed, because there has been such an attempt to build the value on the outward ways. The Lord is always the answer. I did turn in time, though I did not live extensively. I was blessed to be able to come, though again compelled to be humble, or in other words, to call upon God that I might seek for greater help. Yea, I brought forth and had enough time to be able to receive a sweet peace, and yes, things gradually became better. I was sustained and moved forward, until, of course, the day came. I died by an accident, something that was quick and sudden. I didn't die from poverty. I didn't die from shame, although for a beginning I thought certainly I would. Shame that I was not more able to be more wealthy. Shame that we were even in the condition that we were. We all felt shame, almost as if we went from place to place, hanging our heads, just not even looking at the other. Because we saw shame in them, we saw shame in ourselves, and we were so discouraged. Let not the spirit of discouragement be with you. Return to our Father in heaven, please, in the name of Christ, that this be rooted out of you, and that instead you feel the worth of who you are. This is so valuable. And again, the worth of who you are is more than what you do, how brilliant you are, and how much money you have. It is not these things, but it is something much further beyond, much deeper from before, much more expansive than you can imagine. So maybe you have begun to touch upon this, for which I am very grateful to hear this. But none of you are yet in the fullness where you do not have a little bit of concern, fear, and worry about the outward conditions, or who you are, how you will be accepted, and how it will be that the outward world will influence your life. You have concerns about your occupations, each one of you in your different ways, or the way that you make money. It will always be that if you seek for the money first, and if you seek for the career and your fame, and your internal worth by that of the outward appearances, activities, and what you do in occupation, how much you own, and what are the possessions that are yours. If you seek for it this way, then it will not sustain you. I am not saying do not come and have a job and work and do what you can, but I'm saying begin now with that of even more greater desire to come into holy prayer and have that of our Father in heaven revealed through the Holy Christ's light into your being. That inner confidence that comes because of the divinity that you have within you, because you are truly sons of Almighty God. This is something not everyone in the world knows. That in itself is a treasure, but do not stop with just knowing. Have it be that you experience that divinity and work forward toward that you might stand tall and strong, and come to again establish the ways that must be, later, when there is the building of the new Zion. Then men will know where they are, and they will build a new world on solid principles, a firm foundation with the respect of people first, and then with the commonality or coming together of oneness, with the eternal principles, where we honor the exchange of one man's efforts and that which he has done to give a gift in some manner to society equal to each person. That all may be with that of sufficient and even abundance, yea, every person, and no one be with that of lack. There be not even those with the lesser, but everybody be in an abundance, that which is suiting to that of their desires. And their desires will be righteous, and not to excess and extravagance, but that they will walk in the joy of this earth. Oh, I envy many of you in some ways, that you are able to come and move into a time when the Lord will be here, for many of you will be present at that time. This time is not far away. I know not, of course, the time, but I do know that it is drawing much closer, and that many of you will be here at that time. You have a great experience before you, and what I share with you is a foundation of that which I believe is vital for you to move forward. As always, your foundation is Christ, but your foundation is also you, the true you, the holy you, the divine you in Christ. And when that is your foundation, then all else will move forward. You will be sustained when otherwise it would be impossible to be sustained. You will be taken through circumstances where otherwise they will be too much and throw you back, but instead you will move forward and do what is given to you to do, with the strength of the Lord and knowing who you are. I strongly encourage this for you, for I have seen what it is like to live with that heaviness of depression. It wasn't just that the economy was depressed. The people were depressed, and that caused the great turnaround. Now, that of economy that seemed to be beautiful and wonderful, to that which, of course, was, Yes, very much an added destruction downward and non-productive. I tell you that there are many things that you will need to learn in life, but this is vital and important for all. We came into that of the spirit of depression because we came out of the spirit of exalting ourselves in pride and ego and worldly ways. They always follow, one to the other, back and forth. If someone rises out of the spirit of depression and goes into that of feeling glory in himself, he will then turn again, and one day experience the depression one more time. All these things must be overcome by that of the power of our Lord in Christ. I did become more of a spiritual man, even a religious man, in that of my last days. It took a while before I turned, but I come and say to you, turn before the days of depression. Yea, even in depression of the whole world, come, and the oppression be strong. Let it be the arise of the might. Godly beings that you are, the men that you are, the men of Zion. I honor you, and I'm grateful that I've been able to share this message. I actually have a really good sense of humor. That's one of the things I learned to develop. I thought it was really helpful for my skills. But this is not a thing for joking about. This is not a thing to be brought forth with lightness. So I hope you do not take heaviness from it, but instead that you take hope from it, that you take a determination to even yet continue to forge forward, and ask for the strength to forge forward, that you might come to know who you are, and that this be your foundation, and that you move forward in God. This is my message to you. If any of you have questions, I'm more than glad to answer them if I can, and give you my insight that I have at this point. And I hope that you hear me. In fact, some of your comments might be, well, this is what I think I heard you say, old Jack, or Jack of all trades. This is what I think you're trying to say to us. And that might be just the thing we need, is for you to also then share your knowing around what I have said, that you might bolster each other up, and make you strong together, and come together in your mind, and bond as men, brothers, working in a holy way. That's what the men of Zion, and I believe, are to do. Again, you have a wonderful world before you, and I look forward to the things that will unfold, and I will see you on the other side when you make it, if you do. You stay here for a long time, or maybe a long time, before we as brothers gather together again. But brother, and that's what you are to me, I do tell you, this is my message to you. Know who you are, and let all that you do in this world be upon that, and know that your God is with you always.